911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Crime Door. I'm Kristen. For anyone who's new here, welcome and thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight we should have a wonderful show for you. I have my beautiful daughter, Shelby, is going to be with us to discuss why this case has consumed the public for 7+ years. There's a lot of things I think that we can learn from this case and how it has affected the population, not only the population that follows true crime, but the population of Delphi, Indiana, and beyond. There are so many things that I want to talk about regarding this. And I'm so glad that all of you have joined me because I think this topic is extremely important. And the other thing I want to say before we get started, I have wonderful moderators that will be with me tonight, taking care of all of you so that you can feel safe and in my chat, and knowing that you can agree to disagree as long as everyone remains respectful of one another, both myself, my guest, who's also a moderator on my channel. She informed me earlier she's not really a guest, but she's my special guest. And I know a lot of you know her and love her as much as I do. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her on and we can say hello to all of you. Hey, Shelby.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Thank you for being here tonight. It's been a while.
It has been. I'm a busy person.
I know. A busy mom with all these boys. And now we have an engaged one.
We do.
I announced that on Tuesday on my channel. I was so excited. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Brittany.
Hey, Brittany. Love you, my dear. So glad you're here. So
Uh,
glad you're here.
So yeah, we've already started the wedding planning, and
So
her
exciting. We
her
have so much to do this next
wedding planning
year.
book already has a whole bunch of stuff in it, and they're trying to work through the ins and outs on how we're going to do it. So
That's awesome. That's so good.
we're
so
excited.
glad.
I can't
so
believe
glad.
I'm old enough to have a kid that's getting married.
I know. And I think it's funny because he surpassed me. You know, he waited longer than I did to get married. So,
he's a little younger than I was, but only by a couple years. So,
right.
But, it happens when it happens.
It is what it is.
It
I told him the other day when he was over, I said, don't let the naysayers get to
No.
you that you're too young. I said, I was told your dad and I were told that it wouldn't last. Look where we are. So
that's what I told him. So I said, the people that say, 19, 20-year-olds don't know what love is, that's not true.
That's not true. It is not true at all. But anyway, let's say hello to.
And I do want to apologize. It won't let me join the chat, and I don't know why, and I'm not going to mess with it.
That's really weird. I don't know why. You can chat if you need to. You can go and open up YouTube. Just make sure you mute it so that we don't get feedback. And you can chat in the chat on YouTube.
Well, you can just
talk. You don't have to type.
I don't have to chat. So
hey, Melissa, how are you? Hey, Ruckus, good to see you, my dear. Hey, Jinx. Hey, Farmer, glad to have you here with me. Hi, Debbie.
You better share Brittany's.
Give me a minute, okay?
I don't want to hear any more of it that you don't acknowledge her.
Fox, thank you for being here. Hey, Mitzi, good to see you, my dear. Melissa, I hope you're doing well. I know that you've had it really rough losing your dad and stuff, and I just wanted to mention that. I hope you're hanging in there. It's good to have you with me tonight. Hey, Olivia, too. How are you? Hey, Joe Mosier. Hi, This'll Do Nicely. Always good to have you in the house. Hi, Susie. Hey, Lisa. Good to have you. There's Brittany. Hey, Brittany. For all of those of you that are in chat that met me at the walk in the fall, Brittany's who was with me. She's my other daughter. So there's Brittany. And let's see. Rescue All the Dogs. How are you? Good to see you. I hope I'll see you on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, CJK. How are you? This will do nicely. Thank you so much for gifting a membership. Everybody go out and check your messages if you were the one who got gifted that membership for 1 month of Behind the Crime Door. Awesome. Hey, Peggy Day. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Jinx. Hey, Beach Fairy. It's 2 a.m. there. Oh, my goodness. Well, thank you so much for lurking, and it's okay to watch the replay. I so understand.
Maybe we should do a 2 a.m. show sometime.
Yeah, that would be fun, huh? That would be good. Hey,
if I could stay awake.
Robbins, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Ruckus, glad you finally made it. Hey, Priscilla, Boston. Yeah, I know you guys are getting snow. Well, we had snow a couple days ago, so.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Brittany and I drove in it for an hour and a half.
You're getting it. You're getting what we had. So CJK's happy you're here. So she's just letting you know.
Hi, Shelby. Hi, CJK.
Hey, Louisa. Haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Jinx. I don't know how cute I look, but thanks. Thanks, Beach Fairy. I put it up every once in a while, usually when it's a bad hair day and I need to wash it. So it's thrown up on my head because I need to.
I just washed mine right before this. So, and I haven't washed it in 2 days.
Hey, Butterfly Kisses. How are you? Good to have you with me. Ruckus says, everyone, please join me in a heartfelt thank you to Jinx. She is the best mod ever, and she helps so many creators. She's really great. I really am happy to have her. Very happy to have her. I still can't believe she sat in that car, Ruckus, for those 11 hours that you and I were on live during the last court hearing. She sat in the car outside. Bless her heart. Lisa wants to know, Shelby, important question. If your house is in the snake-free zone.
So that's a funny story. So my son went with Kristen up to Chicago to that reptile thing or whatever, and he's leaving the house. And I said, no, nothing comes home. Like we used to have bearded dragons when the boys were little. Right before my oldest went into high school, we had 2 bearded dragons and we loved them. I mean, we had leashes for them. They were, by all sense and purposes, house pets. We held them. When I was pregnant with my youngest, they used to sit on my belly. I loved them. And then he got super busy in high school, as teenagers do. And so they fell to the wayside, and we donated them to another family. And he's been at me to go back down that road. And, his fiance is living with us, and we have a dog. And I said, no. I said, you don't even help take care of the dog. We're not having reptiles. So lo and behold, I get a text. I bought a snake and it's going to stay at Grams's. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be involved in that conversation with Grams.
And he was fine.
No.
He's fine with it. He doesn't have to deal with it. It's fine.
So yes, my home is a snake-free home. But I will say I do love snakes. My uncle used to have a snake named Xanadu, and I loved him. I would wear him around my neck and for hours and hours and hours. Snakes don't bother me. The spiders, on the other hand, I don't go in her room there ever.
It's so funny. They all want me to show them. It's funny. My subscribers like my crazy. CJK said to tell you there is a Facebook Marketplace resale site for wedding stuff.
Oh, sweet.
So go there.
Awesome.
Make sure you make note of that. That's
Absolutely.
awesome to know. Thanks, guys, for those bits and pieces. Oh, and she says there's rental places too if you want some vintage things. Great way to decorate. So
awesome. Yeah, she's going for, I think, a romantic type theme. So
yeah. Brittany goes, you all are funny. Aren't we, though?
Well, that's because she's texting me about some things I'll tell you later.
Yeah, Louise has been with me since the beginning. She's been with me since the beginning of my channel. Hey, Cynthia Del Fuente, how are you? Good to see you. Tech Death, there you are, my dear. How are you? For everyone who's new to my channel, Tech Death Hippie does the intro and outro music for my channel. He's an amazing musician. Please check out his channel. My moderators, if you'll drop his channel link in the live chat for me, I would certainly appreciate that. Hang on a second. If you guys hear a squeal every now and then coming from my house, it's because my soon-to-be 7-year-old grandson is in the bathtub, and it sounds like he is being a submarine. So I just want, he's on the wall next to me. So just so you know.
It's not bath night, but
Ruckus says this is the cool kids table.
I was never at the cool kids table.
This is the cool kids table. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Jinx. I love you. Thank you so much for putting that in there. You're so quick. Hey, Coach Kev. How are you? Good to see you. Shelby, just so you know, Coach Kev's an awesome creator on YouTube as well, and he's a fireman. So he does a lot of stuff. He knows a lot of stuff about the Flora case, and he's one of our first responders. And he's actually a fireman. So yeah. So lots of respect, lots of love and respect for him.
By the way, this is coffee, not anything it shouldn't be.
Oh, okay. And just so you know, I want to also introduce you to Shadowbox because she is one of my moderators. She's the lovely person who sent me the big, huge package of all the goodies on my birthday.
Oh, nice.
If you remember.
She was so excited.
I got them from her.
I got a FaceTime when it arrived.
Oh my gosh, that was so awesome. I still love everything she sent me.
What's wrong
Oh
with
my
bald
God,
guy?
Don Spain's coming. Oh, awesome. I can't wait to meet him. That's awesome. Thanks, CJK.
Ruckus, what's wrong with bald guys? My husband's bald.
What did he say about bald men?
He
I
said,
missed it.
and Kev is bald.
Kevin is bald. There's nothing wrong with bald men.
Nope.
Nothing at all. Ruckus is like, snow, what's that? He lives in Florida.
Rub it in.
Yeah. So he doesn't. Yeah,
Although I'll take the snow over their humidity any day.
Same thing. Oh my God, Shadow's making soap. I love her soap. So good. Hang on, let's see. Hey Bees9, I wanted to tell you, thank you. I'm giving you a shout out here because I love the comments you've been leaving. You are spot on. And I just want you to know that, I just think you're great. And I thank you so much for standing up for justice for Abby and Libby. This whole thing with Bob Motta using Justice for Abby and Libby for advertisement to fundraise for Richard Allen is sickening. As you guys know, and for those of you that follow me and you saw my community post today, my community post was actually something that was posted by Becky Patty, and it was also posted by Kelsey. Kelsey posted it on Twitter, and I felt the need to post it here. And I'm going to pull it up so that everybody can see it, because it's important that we realize that what's going on in this case is there's just something wrong here, what people are doing. And I don't like it, but just give me a second here while I get it pulled up so you guys can see it. It's basically about taking back the hashtag Justice for Abby and Libby and taking it back and making it about Abby and Libby, and not Richard Allen. This is about justice for them. And that's what this is about. And their hashtag has been hijacked. And everybody under the sun is using it for all kinds of things. And it's just wrong. Just wrong. Hold on one second. My computer is being funny. I love Kelsey to death, and she's been through it, you guys. In this case, she has been through it. And she's still going through it because she still has people throwing her under the bus every single day. Okay, got it up. Let me just get it shared with everyone, and we can go from there. Share my screen, window. Here we go. Share. So you guys, this is who this case is about. This is Abby. This is Libby. Abby Williams and Liberty German. They were best friends. They're sitting in the back of a car. This is, look at their matching hats. These were best friends, They enjoyed life together. They played in the band together. They did sports together. They were just 13 and 14-year-olds that, wanted to enjoy life together, and they were looking forward to going to high school. That was their thing. They had just a few months left of 8th grade, and they would have been freshmen in high school. And in February of 2017, these girls' lives were taken. They were taken unjustly from this world and all who love them. Since then, since that happened, their loving families and friends have worked tirelessly to share these two faces with all of us and the memories of them on social media using the hashtag Justice for Abby and Libby. Recently, the hashtag has been filled with information about the man who has been charged with their murder. He's getting ready to stand trial for that in just a few short weeks. We need to join, and I'm asking everyone who watches tonight to please join in support of Abby and Libby and getting this hashtag back to being about them. It's about them. It's about Becky and Mike and Kelsey and Tara and and Derek and all the people that surround Libby, Anna, her parents, her family. Anna Williams doesn't get talked about enough. She is like forgotten in all of this. She doesn't want to be out there. She doesn't put herself out there. She doesn't want to be out there. And I totally respect that for her. Because she doesn't have to be. It's her choice. But we can still be her voice, and we can still be the voice for the voiceless, the ones who can't talk, Abby and Libby. How we tell their story, you guys, matters. And that's exactly what I posted today along with this. And I just want people to remember that as we go forward and talk up tonight about the subject that Shelby and I are going to talk about. And as we go forward the next few weeks into the trial, please remember it's about these two girls. Excuse me. So God, these people laugh. They make me laugh. But I'm trying to get caught up with chat, guys. Hang on a second here. Gail, thank you so much for your gifting of 5 memberships. What an amazing woman you are. You are always out there supporting us, supporting other channels that are factual and fact-based. And I so appreciate you every single live stream. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Boston Christian, good to see you. Brittany's World, the spiders. She's like, face palm. They know how bad it is. Bees9 says, jumping spiders are cute. Oh my God, they're so adorable. Absolutely adorable. I don't know how you cannot look at them and those eyes and not think that they're adorable. So Jinx is also talking about the Flora 4 Angels, the Memorial Channel. Their Memorial Walk is Sunday. Jinx, will you please drop in the chat what time on Sunday the Memorial Walk is for Flora? I think it's on Sunday. I'm pretty sure it's on Sunday. Let's see. Sweet Pea, thank you so much for your super chat, $4.99. Thank you for sponsoring tonight's live stream. I appreciate it. Rescue says, you're just as cool as Brittany, Shelby. I haven't met you yet, but Brittany is a sweetheart. You did meet her. You met Shelby at the walk, Rescue. Yep. You were there.
I was there. I've lost a little bit of weight, so I look a little different.
Yeah, she looks a lot different than she did in October. But yeah, they were both there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. They're really good people. They're good people. Let's see. Oh my gosh, I'm way behind.
All right, so are we just gonna talk or?
Yeah, hang on a second. So Chris Owen says, looks like the trial is finally approaching. I wonder if we'll be able to finally see what they found at Richard Allen's residence that connected him to the crime. Oh yeah, we're gonna get to see all the evidence when the trial happens, for sure. So yeah, guys, I'm just trying to make Mitzi, thank you so much for your 11-month membership to the channel. And thank you so much for that comment. It's very kind of you. I couldn't do all this without you guys' support. If nobody was listening to me, there wouldn't be a reason, right? But you guys listen. So it's Sunday, April 7th is the Flora Memorial Walk, and it's in Indianapolis at 1 p.m. at the Crown Hill Cemetery where the girls are buried. So please, guys, if you live anywhere near Indianapolis and you're able to get out, go out and support Galen, her family, and these 4 little angels that lost their lives. Their case is still unsolved. And we continue to say their names: Kiana, Kiara, Cariel, and Kiani. So, yeah. Hey, the Red Queen. Good to see you. Don, I hear, hey, Deb. Good to see you. So good to see you. Nicole, you met Deb at the walk. So you remember Deb. And Don, I understand that you're going to be at the walk. I'm looking forward to meeting you. That'll be awesome. Very, very good. Hey, Andy, thank you so much for your sub. I appreciate it so much. Welcome to everyone. So yeah, let's just get into this. We are going to talk about why has this case consumed the public for 7+ years, and the crazy that has consumed people and has just gotten worse the closer and closer that we get to trial. I wanted you here with me tonight to discuss this because of your psychology background. She has a degree, a minor in psychology, you guys, and she works, and I've told you this before, she works at a technical institute for high schoolers. So she has a lot of experience with the psychology of things and how things work. And I thought that it would be a good mix to kind of talk about.
And just, take people off.
Yeah. So, but no, going back to this case when it first started back in 2017, and it was just out there newly, and people were learning about it, and it was kind of venturing out past Indiana, and people were getting a feel for it, and they were creating channels, and they were creating Reddit subs, and they were creating Facebook groups. You follow true crime, so you know how the different cases gain traction, and people, we have our own case here that I did, the Amber, or not Amber.
John B. I thought that's who you
No, Scott. Rachel? No. My brain is.
You said it, and now I can't.
I know. April. It's April Scott's daughter.
April's the mom. Brittany, what's her name?
What's April's daughter's name? Why is it off? Why is it completely out? But anyway.
I can go on Facebook and find it.
She is one of our local missing people. And she's a missing mom. And I covered her. I did a full live stream on her.
Alexis Camry Scott is her name.
Alexis Camry Scott. And, there's a Facebook group about her. You can find different TikTok groups and TikTok things about her. It's everywhere. And you're the TikTok person, not so much me. I don't really do TikTok much. I used to, but I just don't have time. You know that. I just don't have the time.
Well, if you stop getting spiders, you might.
Do all this stuff. You're so funny. So anyway, I was like, stopping to think about it. I wanted to know what your thoughts are, because you know the case enough. We've talked about it a lot, and some of the ins and outs of what's been going on. What is your take on what drives people or brings people to a case and makes them want to follow it to its end and delve into it and dissect every tidbit of information that comes out, and then think they know everything there is to know about the case, when in actuality they know nothing because they've never seen any of the real evidence?
Well, I don't think there's any one particular driving force, if you want to go that route, that gets people into a case. This case, for whatever reason, I didn't delve in as much as you did. Most of the knowledge I have gotten has been from you or articles and resources that you've shared with me. Not to say that it's not an important case, because it absolutely is. My true crime brain is just, I guess, a little different than some. But I think the biggest driving force in this case is the fact that it happened to 2 young girls. And whenever kids are involved in a case, people latch on to that because that's not what's supposed to happen. You know, we're supposed to protect our kids. And when I say our kids, I don't just like mean my own kids, like just kids in general. As adults, we're supposed to protect them, not harm them. So I think that is a driving force in the fact that people want answers. Because of that, they want to know the why, they want to know the who. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, not just ones that involve kids, we never truly know the why. But as humans, we look for that. We always want to know the why. Well, why did this person do this? And I always I'm going to get pushed back on this one because I would like to remind everybody that the person who is on trial is innocent at this point. It is, the burden does not fall on him to prove his innocence. It falls on the state to prove that he's guilty. And until the trial is over, he is innocent until that verdict comes down, whether we like it or not. You know, we're not privy to all of the evidence. And Mom and I were talking, was it today or yesterday? I don't remember.
It all blurs together.
I know, about the fact that the judge is not allowing cameras in the courtroom. And honestly, I applaud her for that, because if we know anything about other cases throughout the past years, and I mean, you can go as far, we could start with OJ. It creates a circus, and it creates a damning image for that person who is on trial that they could never recover from, regardless of what we think happened. The outcome of that trial is the truth. And that is the way the American justice system works. And we don't have to like it, but that's the way it works. So when you have cameras in a courtroom, it creates this circus and people latch on, and then you feel entitled to know this information. And in my opinion, it should all be closed. We should know nothing until the case is over, because we're not entitled to any of that. And it's about protecting the integrity of the case. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this person did this. Now, I can actually go into a little bit, because in my school, we have a criminal justice class. Okay. And every year, our criminal justice teacher, she's phenomenal. She creates a case for them, and they go through the entire process of investigating the case, trying to figure out who did it, and the staff in the building. We are the characters within this case. And this year, and I participate every year, but this particular year, I was the suspect. Okay. Mm-hmm. They thought I did it.
Yeah, you were.
And
you did really bad things.
I was accused of doing really bad things. So, first semester, they go through this whole process of doing interrogations and interviews and things like that. And then second semester, you go to trial, and we have a retired judge that comes in, and he's amazing. And he teaches these kids, and these kids this year did all of it by themselves. They wrote their own questions. They did their own evidence reports and all of those things. And guess what? And it's really fun because the kids really get into it. So all year it's been, you're going to go to jail, you're guilty, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not. And so I was found not guilty.
And my good friend, who I talk about all the time here, was the judge, a real judge who he does this. He volunteers his time to this criminal justice class every year to do this mock trial. And it's so that they can learn the system and everything. And he oversaw the case. He's the one who heard all the evidence. He's the one who made the decisions. And he told me that they didn't prove the case.
They had what you would consider circumstantial evidence, but there was nothing directly linking me to the crime. There was no eyewitnesses. The only thing they had was a 911 phone call that, yes, I did record. And Brittany was one of the witnesses, and she swore it was me. My boss was one of the witnesses, and he swore it was me. And I helped in my own defense. And so I told the kids, I said, well, ask him if he's ever confused anybody on the work radio with me. And he has. So, and I also pointed out to them, sometimes when you're looking at my mom and I, and we're talking, you can't tell us apart. And over the phone, it's even worse. My dad, who has known me my entire life and known her for 40 some odd years, can still to this day cannot tell us apart on the phone. So
the truth.
And the prosecution didn't provide any expert testimony that would have broken down that phone conversation to prove that it was me. So so I go back to the, what would it, if your family member is on trial for a crime, would you not want them to have the same benefit as everyone else in being assumed to be innocent? Or if you yourself were on trial, you would want that. So whether we, like it or we think the person deserves it or not having the cameras in the courtroom also protects the person who's on trial.
You also,
which I think is important.
The best defense that you could possibly get.
Yes.
And when you are a person without the means to afford attorneys, and
right.
especially when you're being accused of a double homicide with a possible death sentence, it is in this justice system that we have, it's a scary thought to think that you can't afford your own attorneys. What am I going to get? Who am I going to get to represent me? And I agree with Ruckus on this. Most people who are accused of a crime of this nature are not innocent people. They don't just go out and find people to charge with these kinds of crimes if they don't have the evidence against them. Is there people sitting in jail who have been wrongly convicted? Yes, absolutely.
Too many.
Very much too many.
And I'm going to say this because it was a quote that our retired judge said during our classroom trial, and it resonated with me. And it's a very old quote, and I don't remember who said it, but it's from like back when they were writing our justice system. And it basically says, we should rather have somebody who is guilty be found not innocent than have an innocent man spend one day in jail for something they didn't do.
Exactly.
And when you are looking at a case like this, and I'm assuming, and I don't know if it's a jury, is it a jury? Did he choose a jury trial?
Yes.
I'm assuming he would.
Yes, there's a jury trial. Yeah.
Bad move if he doesn't, but
there's a jury trial.
If I was sitting on that jury, I would want to hear evidence that, especially if you're looking at me giving somebody the death penalty, I need to be pretty darn sure that they're guilty of it. And I don't mean, a good way to describe beyond a reasonable doubt, it's like it's the scales. Okay. So it can't just be like this. Your doubt has to be like this. Like there's really no logical way that it's not this person. Right.
No,
and,
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's, well, that or it's lack of evidence, or it is contaminated evidence. A lot of the people that they are finding now that were put in jail in the 80s and 90s, the blood evidence, our science has gotten better.
I made a post on my community page this week about this very thing. And it was interesting because a lot of people commented about it, and I got a really funny comment. But one of the things that I posted was believing facts and trusting science doesn't mean you're a liberal. It means you're literate. And I meant it about this case. I wasn't trying to be political. I wasn't trying to bring politics into this at all with what I said. I wanted people to understand science, because science is ultimately going to be a huge part of this case, and what evidence was found, how it was tested, how it was collected. All of these things are kind of come into play, which they should. And somebody made the comment to me that science changes. Thank God it does.
Right.
Because if science didn't change and we didn't learn, we would still be living in the dark freaking ages.
Right.
And
so
science should change as our technologies improve. DNA has improved. They're getting better and better every day in the DNA analysis. They're getting to the point where they can find a DNA mixture of multiple people, where they can actually pinpoint now. That's going to be huge.
It is. And if they have his DNA on their bodies or, things like that, that's going to be extremely difficult for the defense to just explain away. Because there's no reason, that his DNA should be there. But your farmer said, oh, you're going to do that one. Okay. We want to talk about this?
Yeah, I do, because I just don't understand it.
Okay.
I just don't get this. I'm sorry, you guys. Judge Gull doesn't have the time to do gripe and complaint letters. This isn't high school.
First of all, what gives you the right, or makes you think you have the right, to send some kind of a gripe letter to the judge because you're not going to get to have a camera in the courtroom and watch it all? Where is it written that is our public right to do that? Nowhere. Nope. Absolutely nowhere.
Nope.
The only people who should be allowed to see this are Abby and Libby's families. That's it. Nobody else needs to be in there. This isn't about anybody else. This is not about Kristen. This isn't about anybody else.
I think it's good that the media is allowed to come in and, and as long as they follow the decorum of the court, they can sit there and take their notes and whatever and report on it. That I have no problem with.
Just because there's a camera already in the court does not mean that it should be used. If you were on trial for this, would you want it to be on TV?
I'm sure it was, but I was going to talk about this anyway. I'm not going off on squeaky. Trust me. I'm not. It's not. The whole thing is just insanity. And to think that somebody in the YouTube community who is a true crime author, who has over 150,000 followers, put Judge Gull's email out to her subscribers and said, write the court. What the heck were they?
Very unprofessional. Very. I mean,
absolutely.
When you told me, well, at first I had to get clarification, because at first she just said address. And so then I was going to let loose because I was thinking it was her home address. And that's a no-no. So I'm glad that it was just her email, and maybe she can filter those into a junk file that she doesn't have to look at them every day. Because let's be honest, folks, she has much more important things to do than listen to a bunch of nobodies complain about the fact that there's not going to be cameras in the courtroom or whatever kind of coverage you want.
Exactly.
She is looking at having to oversee the trial of a case that is, the emotions are so high for the community where this happened. The emotions, I was there. And,
heart-wrenching.
you know, Brittany and I were talking about it the other day because she had a different experience than I did because she didn't know as much about the case going to the bridge as I did. And it's, you know, to sit there and think that there were just two girls out on an afternoon to have fun and their lives abruptly ended is heartbreaking, to say the least. And they deserve justice, and hopefully they will get that.
I love Rocket. We all have the right to remain silent. Some of us just don't have the ability.
Yeah, well,
it's the truth.
They make duct tape for a reason. I'm kidding. I feel like, you know, as true crime creators, it's important to create a narrative where you want to have a trial that is upstanding. You want him to have the best defense that he can possibly have.
Absolutely.
So that if he is found guilty on appeal, there's nothing really, there's nothing there. You don't want to have incompetent defense lawyers. Did he get new defense lawyers?
No, he has the same ones.
Oh.
They got reinstated by the Supreme Court.
Oh.
The Indiana State Supreme Court. So no, his lawyers are the same, and they're doing the same crazy stuff that they've always done. Don Spain says you could argue the taxpayers have a right to see how their money is being used. They do. They can go stand in line to get a number and sit in that small, tiny courtroom in Delphi and watch the trial. And that's how our justice system works.
Yep.
Do I want cameras in the courtroom? Yeah, I do. I would love to be able to watch the trial. Do I think it's the best thing for this particular case? I do not, because of all of the crazy that's been around it. I do not want these two attorneys to start playing to the cameras. They have been playing to social media and to the public and trying to taint juries for a year and a half.
Yep.
I don't think that we should allow them to do that in front of a camera. I think you could speak to this. Sociology-wise, when a camera is on you, you perform differently and you act differently when you know that millions of people are watching you.
Yes. You do.
And that's important, you guys, to understand.
And while you are a taxpayer, this is a person's life on the line, which, in my opinion, is much more important than you being able to see how your money is being used.
Mm-hmm.
And
no, exactly.
Right. And I let's just put it out there. Just because you get to see the trial and there's a camera in there doesn't mean you're going to get to see how your money is used. You're just going to get to see the way the trial plays out moment to moment.
The Allen supporters believe the courtroom will be clouded in secrecy and darkness and things will be hidden.
Well, there is a court record.
Exactly.
And everything that is said and done will be taken down. And just because the camera isn't available to the public doesn't mean that they won't be recording it.
Right.
So that, in my opinion, is not a very good argument.
Right.
Because I've been watching a lot of old true crime cases where, interrogations and courtroom recordings have been released post conviction or acquittal, however it goes. And there's no benefit in seeing it play out in real time. for us as common people, it's not going to give you more material on your, true crime platforms as it would coming out post.
I had a conversation on the phone today with Fig, and you've heard me talk about Fig, and I covered his cousin's murder in the Malibu State Park murder in California. I covered that case 2 years ago for him on my channel. And we talked about family members and what family members go through when dealing with this kind of a case that is so everywhere. It's internet. This case of Abby and Libby is international. We've got YouTubers, Grizzly True Crime, who we're talking about. She's in South Africa. We've got YouTubers that are huge, that are all over the world covering this case daily, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day, going live with information that they're putting out to subscribers. How does this affect family members who are trying to just navigate this nightmare that they were dealt? They didn't ask to be put into. They didn't ask people to start, delving into their backgrounds and doxing them online, putting out their addresses and their pertinent information and threatening them, and talking about them being the true people who committed this crime, and all the things that have happened to the families in this particular case. And he knows better than any, because he went through this. It took 5.5 years after the person who was arrested that committed the crime, that was actually found guilty of the crime of killing his cousin in such a brutal fashion, was found guilty. 5.5 years after he was arrested before he was ever brought to justice. And they would get close to trial, and then something would happen, and it wouldn't happen. It was delayed, and it was pushed back. And then they had this and they had that. And he had a lot of mental illness challenges and things brought in. So they had to do all of these, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying that those things should not happen, but these are the things that these families have to go through. It's like a roller coaster.
The constant roller coaster. So there's how
do you navigate that?
How do
you survive it?
Some people don't. And that's the sad thing. And I think that's also something that we have to remember is, justice for Abby and Libby is important, but protecting their families is just as important. There's also a comment in there. You should imagine if he had Jose Baez, the drama would be horrible. We should address that one too.
Yeah, see, I love Jose.
And I think
people can get upset with me if they want to, but Jose Baez
did his job, and he did 100%, it well.
100%. He did his job,
and he did it well, and that upsets people because there's so many people that think that Casey Anthony is guilty,
and a guilty woman walking free,
right? And in the eyes of the law, she is not guilty, and
it's hard for us.
Jose Baez is a good attorney. No matter how you want to look at it, he performed very well for his client.
Most definitely.
I don't think that there was any drama.
I didn't feel like there was drama with him.
Not like it is with this case.
Oh, good God, no.
He acted professionally. He acted within the confines of the law. He did not expose things he wasn't supposed to expose, and he defended her to the best of his ability. So that I disagree with the fact that there would be more drama.
I agree completely with you, Dawn. I unsubscribed from Grizzly, and I've been a subscriber of Grizzly for over 3 years, and I unsubscribed to her this week. I had no idea she was doing what she was doing, and I'm not gonna be a part of that. I really feel bad because I just think some of these people have just gone off on the deep end, and I don't understand. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
It was Brittany. It was almost like you could feel Abby and Libby there at the bridge with us that day. And it was a beautiful day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I tell everybody since I've been there that it was um, one of the, I think one of the things that got me, Fig's in here, by the way. I didn't see him come in. But it's like I walked onto that bridge and I cried.
Mm-hmm.
And I stood there and I cried because not only does it make it real for you, but I think in my head, I started to feel that terror that not even close to what they must have felt, but I was trying to imagine that because
Yeah.
it's terrifying to be on the bridge, period. No matter what. I mean,
Even now that it's been like
redone.
half of it is refinished, and so
Yes.
you walk out and it's extremely sturdy, but it is so high up, and I'm terrified of heights. So there's like this, this panic that sets in, and the fact that I just don't think the person, whoever bridge guy is, and that's just how we're gonna go with it for now, is in his right mind. The way that he was just, because when you walk out to the way they've redone it, you can see the old bridge. You can't walk onto it, but you can see it. And there is no way that I would be walking across that bridge.
Well, Libby, she was fearless. I mean, she really was. She was afraid of the dark.
And I get that.
She was afraid of the dark, but
if I found out my kid was walking across that bridge,
Anna said it.
You know me. I'm a what's Brittany call it? I'm a gentle parent. I would not be gentle parenting that day that I found out,
Anna
because
said
that bridge is terrifying.
She said, had she known, she would have been grounded. She
Oh,
would
yeah,
have been in big time trouble. Because
you would have been leaving the house forever.
She didn't want her out there. She didn't want her on that bridge alone, and whatever.
Well, and they probably knew that, but
I mean, I said
we all do things.
I used to talk to Hoosier Cold Case about back in the day, like 3-4 years ago. I used to talk to him after he did the boots on the ground videos of being out there and all the terrain. I'm like, you're out there on that bridge. There's nothing to the wind. If it was a real big wind, it would knock you off, blow you off. If you stumble or trip or misstep, there's nothing to grab on to save you. You're just over the side. I mean, it is extremely dangerous.
It is extreme.
And so you realize the terror that they must have had from someone coming up from behind them, mm-hmm. and, ordering them off. They didn't have a choice.
There's nowhere to go.
There's just nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And it's so remote. And even on the sides, as you're walking up to the bridge, those are steep sides.
Yeah.
And it's,
yeah, again, and it is, and again, the pictures don't do it justice.
No, they don't.
You don't have a clue until you're out there on it, and it gives you a whole different mindset, and it does make you realize how terrified these two children had to have been that day.
Right, and they have talked about tearing it down, but I personally hope that they don't tear down the old part.
I hope they don't tear it down.
Because
I don't think there's any reason.
It gives you, I don't know how to explain it. That's their place, and I think that by tearing down the old bridge, you remove some of them.
I think it's a memorial that should remain standing.
Yeah.
Because of it being such a high profile case. Now that they've reinforced the bridge, which they did, they reinforced the girders underneath of it. They went in and they made it semi-safe. I mean, it's
it's safe. I didn't feel unsafe on it.
I didn't feel unsafe on it.
Don't like heights.
People still go out there to take photographs, and
we took
beautiful.
Pictures.
It's a beautiful place.
And I think that I think in redoing the walk, because the entire walk now up to the bridge is paved, and they've taken this horrible thing that happened and turned it into this beautiful place. And I think that's a tribute to the girls themselves, because I think if they were to go out there today, they would love it. So
I hope you're right, Mike.
Yeah.
I was thinking today when I was having a conversation that, there's I said it for a long time on my channel, but there's
there are
evidence we
cameras
don't
out
know
there
about.
everywhere, Ruckus. Too bad they weren't there that day.
What did he say?
He was talking, there's cameras everywhere out there now.
Oh yeah, there
But
are
too bad
now.
they
There
weren't
weren't
there
that day,
then.
unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I think they have evidence that we can't even begin to imagine. I think it's going to blow some people out of the water. And I think that I'm hopeful because I think they found some things when they did the search warrant of Richard Allen. I think there was something that was found that's led them to feel that they've got this case. And I believe that.
You and I talked, and I don't remember when it was one time when we were on here about how tight-lipped the police were in this case as far as the evidence goes, and I commend them for that. Like, they have held the integrity of this investigation to a higher standard that more police should do, because again, we're not entitled to any of that. So it will be interesting to see what evidence there is and in what way the defense can try to explain some of it away if they can.
I just feel that what we're seeing with the defense in this case is a defense that doesn't have one.
No, they're desperate and they're scrambling.
They're desperate and they're throwing and doing all these crazy things, and
they may just be trying to taint a jury pool at this point.
There's definitely an argument out there for that. I mean, when you start a letter writing campaign amongst YouTubers and social media to the judge in a case, there's a problem. And I firmly believe the defense is behind all this. I do.
Bees 9, it's absolutely heartbreaking that victim, and it's not just this case. It's so many cases where victims and their families are re-traumatized and victimized. I just watched a documentary about the little boy whose stepmother unalived him and put him in the suitcase.
Oh God, yeah.
And somebody
we all here in Delphi know that because it happened in Indiana when they found the little boy in the suitcase. It was gut-wrenching to all of us.
Well, a pretty well-known YouTuber apparently, or somebody on had gotten a hold of his autopsy with pictures and had put it on her Patreon.
Yep.
Could you imagine if that was your child? And we're all sitting here, well, we're taxpayers or whatever, and we're entitled to know. That is somebody's baby.
People
and I think that we have to keep that in mind. Like this, yes, from true crime perspectives, those things intrigue me, and hearing about autopsies, but I can hear about those things and not have to have pictures with them. I know enough anatomy and the body that I don't need the pictures to go along with it.
I never wanted to
when you hear the dad talk about this and how horrific it was for him to find out that his son's autopsy photos were circulating on the internet
and would never be able to be removed.
And now they're out there. There's nothing he can do about it.
Yep.
And like he said, he has been emotionally, financially, and spiritually just completely demolished by what happened. And he can't handle this. Like that there's, she didn't break any laws, but there's no laws to protect. There's laws that protect children who are victims of other crimes of having that stuff and pictures and things leaked, but not if you are the victim of a murder.
63 Clock says it so well. So true at Shelby. As a mother, I get so angry about the pictures being treated like the latest issues of People magazine. It goes back to that mentality that people feel like they're entitled to this information, and the entitlement that's in our society right now by people among many different topics. It's just ridiculous. The only people that are entitled to children's autopsy photos, if they want to choose to partake, is the family and law enforcement.
Yep.
And the defense attorneys.
And then at trial.
At trial. I mean, the fact that the defense
I wouldn't even want to be on the jury to have to sit through and see those pictures.
The fact that the defense attorneys leaked these photos to anyone is horrific enough.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was talking with Fig and we were talking about his case, they told them as a family, they set them down, the prosecution, before the trial, and they said, we will let you know what day and what time the photos are going to be shown so that you can get up and leave.
Yep.
You can look down, look away, or whatever. And they didn't do it. They just put them up. And they were all sitting there. His wife, his mother, all these people. And here were these crime scene photos of their son with his head blown away. I mean, and his two little girls. I mean, it's like, what is wrong with people?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, you've got to think about yourself. To me, you have to put yourself in that position. Just like you said, if that was your baby or your child or your brother or sister or mother or whomever, the person you love, would you want that done to you?
No.
You know, I mean, all these people around this case that profess to be Christians and are always saying, you know, I'm such a Christian. Well, if you're such a Christian, isn't one of the biggest teachings of Jesus Christ is to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself? Or, you know,
Camaro lover, I was referring about, it was Gannon that I was talking about.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just sad and it's very sick. And the other night, a YouTuber, The Art of Deduction was the channel, who has since been removed by YouTube. Thank God. Hallelujah. Thank you, everyone who helped the campaign to get that channel taken down. He sent the crime scene photos to Becky because he thought he was doing a service.
To who?
Her.
Him?
And I'm like, these are the sick people that we have covering or trying to or professing to cover this case. And it is infuriating. I mean, like I said, to me, if it's hurting me this badly and it affects me this way, I can't even imagine what it does to them.
I can't. And I think that's where, you know, some true crime
takes it too far.
People they lose this sense of compassion and this sense of the big picture, in my opinion. I think maybe over time, when you cover so many cases like this and stuff, you do become desensitized to certain things, which when that happens, you should stop. Just for the record, if things like this no longer affect you, start doing something else, because that is a red flag. You know, you want to talk about the psychology of people. For whatever reason, as human beings, we have this sick fascination about why people do what they do. And the truth is that some people are just evil. And there is no rhyme or reason.
There are just evil people out there that want to hurt others.
And they find joy and whatever else in hurting other people, whether it be unaliving them or traumatizing them, abusing them, whatever the case may be. So when you cover those kinds of things, compassion is the only thing that comes to mind for me. And that means everybody in the case.
Yes, because it's not just about affording the compassion and the care to the families of Libby and Abby. It's also to Richard Allen and his family. You
Because
know,
they're
people
innocent
who-
bystanders in this. They didn't
people
have
who are
anything to do
going
with it.
off on them, and
Yeah.
the fact that, well, why is Kathy Allen still standing by this guy, and why is, where's his daughter?
Let's talk
Why
about
isn't
that.
his daughter in court every day?
So let's talk about that from a psychological standpoint, because I was just having this conversation last week with one of my friends. You never truly know somebody. Let's just make that clear. You never truly know somebody. Okay.
Nope.
Even
those who you sleep next to.
I was just gonna say I've been
every
married to my
single day.
husband for it'll be 10 years in September. And if you told me that he committed a crime like this, I wouldn't believe you, because that's not the man I know.
Right.
It's not the man I've ever seen. And so to sit there and belittle his wife for not immediately divorcing him or not immediately leaving him, the Green River Killer.
Yep.
His family had no idea.
Nope.
None.
Neither did BTKs.
Yes. Like there are people who do these kinds of things are extremely good at pulling the wool over people's eyes and pretending to fit in, even though they're behind closed doors, they're doing horrific things. So, it's very hard to sit there and make the connection with what your spouse is accused of and then the spouse that and reconciling that and coming to terms, especially when we're right now, she's not seen any of the evidence herself. She doesn't know. She's only going by what his attorneys and he's telling her. And she loves him. And she trusts him. So you can start judging her when the trial ends if he's found guilty after all the evidence has come out. That's when you can start. If she still sticks by him, then that's a whole nother psychology that we don't want to delve into. But as of right now, she's an innocent victim as well.
Right.
And so is his daughter.
No, exactly. And, everybody's like, well, why hasn't his daughter been in court or, in court?
Maybe she can't bring herself to.
Yeah. I mean, there's
people handle things different.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no right or wrong way. That's like, when you're sitting there, we have discussed this, I don't know how many times. If something happened to my mom, if she disappeared, my dad wouldn't talk to any media at all, because that's not who he is. He would not cry in front of the media. He wouldn't, none of it. And he would look guilty as hell. He would look guilty as heck.
Yeah, he would.
Guilty as heck, because that's not the kind of person he is. We have this twisted idea of what grief is supposed to look like. And there's no that's just not a thing. There's no right or wrong way.
Yes, she does, Lynn, and it took her years to be able to.
Yeah.
If you listen to Carrie and if you read Carrie Rawson's book, which I highly recommend for anyone that really wants to know what it's like to be the daughter of a serial killer, read her book. She has been through hell and back. She lost her marriage over this. She lost so much. And her, she grew up loving a man as her father. She loved him. They went and fishing together. They did all kinds of things together. She had no idea what her father was doing behind the scenes. And he was not the same man that she loved.
Right.
And to all of a sudden have your world imploded, like hers was the day the FBI walked into her door and knocked on it in Michigan, where she lived at the time, and said, "We need to talk to you. Do you know Dennis Rader?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's my father." Well, he's the BTK killer. Can you imagine?
Mind blown.
You
I mean, what would you say?
What would you say? What do you say?
So,
Yeah.
where did it go? Ruckus brings up a good point, and it's not just spouses, it's parents too. And I always use this example. As my mom will tell you, I have a serial killer obsession. We've talked about doing a series on here because it seriously is an obsession of mine, because it goes back to the psychology of them, of a serial killer. So, and now I can't remember his name. Wisconsin. What's his name, Mom?
I'm sorry, honey, what?
The serial killer.
I was trying to read the chat and listen to you at the same time.
The serial killer in Wisconsin.
That you just watched, Israel Keys?
No.
Oh.
No. That was he's in Alaska, Mom.
No, I know, but
his dad did an interview. He unalived.
You're
Dahmer.
thinking of
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Sorry. Brain fart.
I thought Jeffrey Dahmer lived in Ohio. I mean, he was born in Ohio, but he committed the crimes in Milwaukee. Go on.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Besides the point. So his dad did an interview with him years and years ago, shortly after he was convicted. And the reporter asked him, you know, how do you still visit your son? How do you still have a relationship with your son after he's committed such heinous crimes? And he said, I hate what my son has done, but I love my son. And as a parent, that's what unconditional love is. You know, you love your children. You don't always like what they do. And you don't condone everything that they do. And so people forget that just because somebody does some evil things, that people are going to just, you know, write them off. But that's not always the case either.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Ruckus because he says if he's ever found on a trail, he's on a jogging trail, he was placed there because he doesn't jog.
So that's a funny thing, because when we go on drives or we go on hikes, there's places that, you know, you always have to look because you just never know what you're going to find.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. I know. So. It's just like, yeah. He keeps me, Ruckus is who I did the 11 hours with the last trial day or court date. And I'm just telling you, he kind of keeps me grounded because he keeps the levity. He's ex-law enforcement, so he knows you have to have.
Wait, he's ex-law enforcement and he doesn't run?
True.
Okay.
You have to remember that he is retired. He may have ran back in the day, but he doesn't run now.
Okay. Fair enough. Bad knees. Get it?
Yes, exactly. And but he's funny. Ruckus.
I don't run with scissors.
I don't run with scissors. The last two words are not needed. He cracks me up. But yeah, I mean, you know, going back to justice for Abby and Libby, you know, I love how you started the live stream when you said that Richard Allen is innocent until proven guilty. And I always say that and try to preface that on this channel. And I always try to remind everyone of that. Do we have our own opinions? Yes, we do, based on what we already know.
Are you entitled to your own opinions? Yes.
Absolutely.
You are.
Do you go out there and demand that you know better than someone else because you have all the facts? No.
Because you don't have all the facts.
None of us have everything. But
we don't even have a quarter of everything. Let's be real about it.
Ruckus says, I retired in 2008. I ran a 10-minute mile and a half before I retired. Now I'm old and fat.
Well, Brittany and I just did 4 miles 2 weeks ago on the elliptical, and we almost died. So...
yeah, exactly. But yeah, we all have opinions, and covering true crime and talking about cases and bringing forth facts is one thing, and having a discussion or a debate about what we may think or not, as long as we're saying it's speculation and we're speculating and we don't know for sure 100% or anything, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine with people being on here that have different opinions than me. But when they come in here and call me stupid, dumb, and ignorant because I believe in fact-based reporting, that I can't not
You
say
cannot
something about.
sit on a trial as a jury person and come to a verdict based on what you think or feel. You cannot consider anything that is not presented to you in court. None of it. That's why you can't watch, discuss anything about the case. You can only use what is presented to you in court.
I explained that to them the other night when we talked about sitting on a jury. When you get your jury instruction, and when they're seating a jury, they ask you.
They will ask you all kinds of questions.
But they can you put aside all of your past thoughts and feelings about innocence and guilt and everything that you may have heard or know about said case? Can you put it all aside and only make a decision based upon what's going to be presented to you at trial?
Right.
Then people are saying, well, people lie. And I tried to tell them there is all kinds of ways for them to find out if jurors are lying on their jury questionnaires, or whether or not when they do the open court interviewing and talking and asking questions of these prospective jurors, for ways to find out if these jurors are being truthful or not.
So
is there 100% guarantee? No,
there never is.
In life.
But that's why when you go into deliberation, it is your job as a jury person to then reiterate to people that you can only, I think he's guilty. Well, but why do you think that? You have to have something that backs that up. And if it's not something that was stated in the court case, then it is your responsibility to tell that person, we can't discuss that. That's not allowed. And I don't know if anyone else has heard the term of implicit bias. Does anybody know what that means? I'll read you the definition. So an implicit bias is a negative attitude of which one is not consciously aware against a specific social group. That could imply, or that could be taken into consideration in this case where, jurors, we all have implicit biases. I don't like ladies with spiders. So, there's that. But we don't always know what those implicit biases are. Until they're pointed out to us. Yes, my brother did love spiders, but that's just not an excuse to have them in your home like that as pets. Okay, so stop trying to guilt trip me. It is important, and we talk about this in the education system because you work with a vast difference of religious backgrounds, race, belief systems, all of those things. And so it's really important for you to try to understand what your implicit biases are and to not use those. Well, then you can get on here next time, Britt. She, from a counseling point, she would be really good with some of this stuff.
Oh, I know she would be. Being a counselor.
Yeah.
But it just gets me, like I said, I mean, the case has just gone off the rails recently, and it's not just in social media. It's actually the case with all the motions and the craziness that has been happening. But I want to say that Nick hit it out of the ballpark before.
I agree, Ruckus. I agree.
Hold
But
on
that's
one-
not really implicit if you know you have it.
Yes, right, exactly. I wanted to go over this real quick because I know people have heard it, but I know you haven't. And I want Nick McClelland, the prosecutor in this case, answered yesterday the state's response to the defense's third motion for a Faxx hearing. Now,
wait, say it one more time. Sorry, I was
the
reading.
State's response to the defense's third motion for a Faxx hearing.
Okay.
Now comes the state of Indiana by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland and files its response to the Richard Allen's third Faxx notice and request for Faxx hearing based upon newly discovered evidence and the request for findings of facts and conclusions of law upon any ruling on this request referred to by the state as the defense third motion for Faxx hearing. The state has reviewed the defense motion and believes that the defense has misstated the facts in the motion and would respectfully ask the court to deny the motion without a hearing. The defense's third motion for a Faxx hearing alleges that Tony Liggett failed to include information about geofencing data in the probable cause affidavit for the search warrant for the residence of Richard Allen. The defense claims that if this information was included, the court would not have found probable cause to issue the search warrant. The defense seems to claim that the missing information is exculpatory as to Richard Allen. However, the information from the geofencing data is mischaracterized and interpreted by the defense. Even if included in the affidavit, that geofencing data would not negate, cancel, or eliminate the facts that supported probable cause for the search warrant regarding Richard Allen's residence. Further, Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally lie or omit material information about evidence in an effort to mislead the judge in the search warrant affidavit. The state, excuse me, the state of Indiana filed charges against the defendant, Richard Allen, in the cause of action on October 28th. I'll be right back. Go ahead and talk to them. I'll be right back.
Okay. And she leaves me alone. Anybody have any questions? She's fine. I know, she left. I love you too, Brittany.
I hate when that happens. Sorry, guys.
I told him you were fine. And nobody wanted to talk while you were gone, so. Other than Brittany, fine. She said she loves me.
Oh, that's lovely.
So
further, Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally lie or omit material information. The state filed charges against the defendant, Richard Allen, in this cause of action on October 28th of 2022 for 2 counts of murder in violation of Indiana Code 35-42-1-1, parentheses 2 parentheses. The defendant has been in custody since his arrest. The court appointed the defendant representation on November 14th of 2022. Since that time, several motions and responses have been filed by both state and defense. The defense filed its first motion for a Faxx, for a Faxx hearing on September 18th of 2023 with a memorandum, attachments, and several exhibits. That motion was followed the defendant's supplemental motion for Faxx hearing filed on October 2nd, 2023, and the defendant's additional Faxx notice filed on October 3rd, 2023. All motions were denied by this court without a hearing. The state has outlined the test used in Faxx in its prior two responses. In order to have a Faxx hearing, the defense's attack on probable cause must be based on deliberate falsehood or acts of reckless disregard for the truth, and those allegations must be accompanied by an offer of proof. The claim should point out specifically the portion of the warrant affidavit that is claimed to be false and should be accompanied by affidavits or sworn statements or reliable statements of witnesses. The defense must show that there is an inaccurate or omitted information and that probable cause is lacking if the omitted information is included. Faxx versus Delaware, 438 United States 154, 1978. Herein, the defense claims omissions, if included, would negate probable cause for the search warrant of Richard Allen's residence. Specifically, the defense claims that, number one, Sheriff Tony Liggett concealed from Judge Diener that at least 3 phones were moving in and around the crime scene at the times when the murders would have been taking place, and that, number 2, the way that Lieutenant Jerry Holman memorialized his interview with Turco should cause alarm about what law enforcement choose to include or not include in their reports. Issue number 1, that Sheriff Tony Liggett failed to make the judge aware that geofencing data showed at least 3 persons in and around the crime scene at the time of the murders. In our case, the defense is alleging that the crime was committed by several individuals involved in Odinism. The defense has filed several motions with this theory contained in the motions. The defense continues to promote this theory to the public with no evidence to support such theory. The defense have come to the point where they are making false statements in their motions in a continued effort to support this theory. This is one of those occasions. The defense claims that the geofencing data shows 3 phones in the area of the crime scene when the murders occurred. The defense admittedly speculates that a map with 3 phone numbers is geofencing data that provides evidence of any of 3 scenarios. Number 1, that people are walking around and witness the murders and none of them identify Richard Allen. Number 2, that persons walking around saw nothing and the murders did not happen on February 13th, 2017. Or number 3, the persons walking around committed the murders. This, of course, promotes the defense's theory. Unfortunately, the defense do not understand how to read or interpret geofencing data, and once again have misinterpreted the information and have put misinformation into this motion. The defense was advised on March 4th of 2023 that state witnesses specializing in geofencing data would be Indiana State Police First Sergeant Christopher Cecil, FBI agent Kevin Horan, and or Indiana State Police Sergeant Peter Glogaza. However, the defense filed their 3rd motion for Faxx hearing based on newly discovered evidence that was available during the first discovery disclosure in October of 2023, and in the second discovery disclosure after counsel was reinstated. The state witnesses for geofencing data interpretations would testify that AT&T collects data from devices to include geolocation data. AT&T geolocation information is gathered from 3 sources: GPS first, known Wi-Fi triangulation locations second, and cell sites or timing advance, which occurs when a signal is sent from the cell tower to the device and then back to the tower. GPS, if received, can be very good with an estimated accuracy range of 3 to 15 meters. Wi-Fi or triangulation estimated ranges vary between 15 and 100 meters, and cell sites or timing advance can range up to several thousand meters. The cell sites or timing advance is inaccurate because the geofencing data estimates where the phone is at based on how long it takes the signal to go from the tower to the cell phone and back again. This means that the device can be 3 to 15 meters from the pinpoint on the map up to several thousand meters, depending on how the information was collected from the device to the tower. When interpreting geolocation data, you can only consider that the device is somewhere in or near to the estimated range area that AT&T provides. Thus, if an AT&T geolocation and a geofence provided a Wi-Fi location with a center point on the Carroll County Courthouse, one could deduct that the location is in a range of 15 to 100 meters from or around that center point. If that same scenario included a cell site or timing advanced location, the actual location of the device could be in a range of 1,000 meters plus from where the pinpoint is located. That could include the entire town of Delphi and beyond. When a person in a rural area, oftentimes GPS and Wi-Fi location services are not available. Therefore, AT&T must resort to cell site location data. This is not accurate, and it is not an accurate way to pinpoint the location of a device. Furthermore, geofencing does not track movement, so the fact that a pinpoint moves within a certain area is not indicative of a phone moving within that area. Sorry. The map that the defense referred to is actually geofence data from AT&T, and the points on the map represent GPS longitude, latitude points provided as a part of a geofence from AT&T. Each longitude and latitude point has a range of uncertainty. The point is not where the phone is, it is simply the center point of the measurement. So even though the longitude and latitude point is near the crime scene, the actual phone could be more than 5,000 meters away from that point in any direction. The points have no date, time associated with them on the map, and so the map does not indicate what date and time the phone hit on that pinpoint. All this information was provided to the defense in spreadsheet form with discovery. They either chose to ignore it or they did not understand how to read said information. The defense's conclusion that 3 devices were found in or near the murder scene, location at the time of the murders, and what geofencing data means is an inaccurate evaluation or interpretation that is not supported by an analysis by someone with specialized training or knowledge in geofencing data. The defense's conclusions fail to consider the estimated range of those devices in the AT&T records or how the pinpoint data was collected. Furthermore, although phones may have a pinpoint on a map, that is in the area of the crime scene, the actual phone could be several thousand meters away. No geolocation expert assisting in the investigation concluded that cell phones were in or around the crime scene when the murders occurred. The defense further fails to state that the owners of those phones were interviewed and cleared by investigators. This was certainly Sheriff Liggett's understanding when he signed the affidavit of probable cause. The defense should be required to provide reliable statements or sworn affidavits of persons properly qualified to interpret geofencing data to support their claim that the omitted information, if included in the probable cause affidavit, would cause the judge to deny the search warrant request for Richard Allen's residence. Issue number 2 was that does Lieutenant Holman's summary of his Professor Turco interview support defense argument that law enforcement provided false information in the probable cause affidavit to obtain the search warrant for Richard Allen's residence? It is unclear as to the reason the defense chose to have at least half of the content of this Frank's motion address events that occurred nearly a year and a half after the submission of the search warrant. Almost done, guys. Sorry.
It's like the bedtime stories when I was a kid.
And supporting probable cause affidavit. It obviously fails to meet the burden due to the fact that the Turco interview could have no bearing on what the probable cause affidavit contains. However, if the defense is using this to support the assertion made in paragraph number 34 that law enforcement has attempted to conceal evidence or falsify information in other contexts in the case, it utterly fails for the reason that Lieutenant Holman did not conceal evidence or falsify information from Professor Jeffrey Turco. The defense alleges that Lieutenant Jerry Holman interviewed Professor Jeffrey Turco and then lied about the contents of that interview, and that Professor Turco's statements Lieutenant Holman interviewed Professor Turco in September of 2023 at the request of the defense following his deposition. Lieutenant Holman's deposition included defense inquiry about investigative leads related to Odinism. Lieutenant Holman advised that a Purdue professor had been consulted by other investigators, but that he did not participate directly in the inquiry. The defense pressed Lieutenant Holman to re-interview the professor as to his findings and conclusions. Lieutenant Holman did a follow-up interview of Professor Turco at the defense's request. Professor Turco's initial report from 2017 clearly states in the introductory summary, it is not self-evident that these markings are runic inscriptions, nor is it immediately clear what they would mean if they were. However, the argument that these markings constitute an inscription inspired by Norse runes or modern recreations thereof is quite plausible. The following are conjectures based on the working assumption that these lines do in fact constitute a runic or runically inspired inscription. Clearly, Professor Turco was asked to assume that the lined formations are runes. Lieutenant Holman did not attempt to deceive the reader or leave out key information from Professor Turco's report. However, Lieutenant Holman did another interview of Professor Turco to clarify his findings at the request of the defense. And the defense outlines Lieutenant Holman's summary of that second interview in paragraph 18 of their motion. The defense then outlines what they believe Lieutenant Holman's summary should have stated in his report in paragraph 22 of their motion. The parties held a deposition of Professor Turco on March 21st, 2024. At the deposition, Professor Turco stated under oath that paragraph 18 of the defense's motion more accurately reflects his opinion by comparison to that which was stated in paragraph 22. Paragraph 18 is from Lieutenant Holman's report, while paragraph 22 is what the defense believes Professor Turco's report means and includes the defense's application of Turco's statements to Faxx about Brad Holder and Patrick Westphal that were not provided to Professor Turco for consideration. Professor Turco stated that he was provided with only a diagram of lines in a certain pattern on a blank sheet of paper, which he then replicated and color-coded for reference to this narrative report. Professor Turco went on to state that paragraph 22 does not accurately reflect his opinion at all. Professor Turco stated in his deposition that it is not clear that the sticks found on the girls represents Germanic runic script. The professor went on to debunk all statements that all statements that the defense put in their motion, including that this was a ritualistic sacrificial killing. He stated that nowhere in the recorded history of Odinism has a sacrificial killing of children occurred, and if by some slight chance that it is that, it would be the only one in recorded history and goes against the definition of ritual, since a ritual is something that is done over and over again. The defense outright lied in this motion and misrepresented the true findings of Professor Turco. Lieutenant Holman reported the truth, and his statement that Turco's findings were inconclusive was correct. The defense's statement that Lieutenant Holman somehow was misleading in his report is entirely false. Finally, it is important to note that the interview of Professor Turco and Lieutenant Holman's narrative summary did not occur until nearly a year and a half after the search warrant was executed. Again, the defense does not even claim that the Turco findings are an omission from the search warrant affidavit, but rather it is presumably new evidence to support their claim that law enforcement as a whole is motivated to lie or misstate the truth as part of a conspiracy to protect Brad Holder or to withhold evidence exculpatory to Richard Allen. The threshold to be met for a Faxx hearing would require the defense to show a substantial preliminary showing that a false statement was knowingly and intentionally given or given with reckless disregard for the truth, such that probable cause is lacking for the Richard Allen search warrant if the omissions are included or the inaccuracies are taken out. The whole narrative of his Turco report are not relevant to the Richard Allen search warrant affidavit. The defense has routinely put theories and statements in their motions that are not supported by facts or any real evidence. This is yet another example of that. The fact that the defense has a theory of how this crime was committed does not warrant the state to put that into a search warrant. In conclusion, wherefore now the state of Indiana, by prosecuting attorney Nicholas C. McClelland, and files their response to the defendant's third motion for a Faxx hearing, and would ask the court to find that the defense has not met its burden to warrant a Faxx hearing. The motion contains nothing more than their beliefs about what the geofencing data means without the necessary specialized knowledge to interpret that data, and similarly concludes that it must be exculpatory and therefore a material, intentional, or reckless omission in the probable cause affidavit for the search warrant. Sheriff Tony Liggett did not intentionally or recklessly omit evidence or lie about evidence in the probable cause affidavit to support the search warrant in an effort to mislead the judge. The facts in the affidavit are true and accurate and are supported by evidence collected in this case. Sheriff Tony Liggett relied on that evidence when drafting the affidavit for the search warrant as the best reliable information known to him and related to Richard Allen at the time of the request. That there are no inaccuracies or omissions in the probable cause for the search warrant, that there are of a material nature, and the defense argument that law enforcement dishonestly is pervasive and relates back to the affidavit in question is not supported by sworn statements, affidavits, or other reliable statements. Signed, Nicholas C. McClelland, prosecuting attorney. And in my opinion, you guys, I know that was a lot, but he hit it out of the ballpark. The fact that we have had a Faxx motion now 3 times by this same defense team, utilizing the same information, and now they're calling it new information, new evidence, which it isn't, just goes to show that they're doing their job. This is what defense attorneys do. This is what any good defense attorneys are going to do. They're going to throw everything at the wall to see if it sticks, to try to get their clients off. And he hit the nail on the head. And so I'm just like, they are something else. And if you go through and you read some of their motions, you realize that it's incredible, some of the things that they say, do, and how unprofessional their motions are in general. But that's where we are. That's the last motion that's been filed in this case. And I think that Nick is prepared for all of us who didn't know if the prosecutor had a handle on this case. I think we can all rest assured that he has a handle on this case. I think that he hired the new female attorney, which is Miss Diener. Whether she's related to Judge Diener, who was the first judge in this case, I don't know. I'm going to assume so, since it's such a small location, small area. But she's done very well as well. So they're moving forward, and we are going to be going to trial here within a month. And yeah, it's going to be something. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy where we are with this. But
I'd get a new defense if it was me.
How would you feel? I guess my feeling is, if you knew that your defense team was out there putting out crime scene photos, making all these motions with all this crap and all this BS and all this stuff to muddy the waters, would you really think that they were giving you the best possible defense, or would you think they were hurting your case?
So when you are looking at least from my experience and all the things I've read and heard,
good night, Gail.
When you are creating your defense, you want to take each piece of evidence piece by piece, right? And try to poke holes in it. So for instance, we'll backtrack to the trial at school. So I was charged with setting a fire to a house of my fiance, and in which case it unalived him and the girl he was cheating on me with. Oh, yeah, it was a big thing. Anyway, there was a gas can found in the dumpster behind the school, and then Brittany threw me under the bus and said that the back of my car smelled of gas. So I instructed my defense team to ask the lead fire inspector that was that the prosecution had called, okay, and said, can you link, is there testing available that you could link the gasoline from the gas can to the gasoline in my car? In which case he said, yes, there is testing for that. And so then they asked, well, did you do that testing? And to which he said, well, I can't remember exactly how he said it. It was, and he should have just said no, but he said, well, I'm not sure. In which case the judge was like, well, you can't, that's not an answer. Like, you either did or you didn't.
It's a yes or no answer, not a maybe or a might have.
Right. Yeah. So, so that was one of the.
Did you see what Lisa said?
Well, but then the other thing was, so one of the things that we should have asked Brittany was, how strong was that smell? Like, you can spill gas in your car from filling your gas can for your mower, and months later, your car still.
This was a mock trial at her school, Melissa. This was not true. She's not bad. I didn't raise a bad kid. No. Honest to God.
No. And I'm married. I don't have a fiance. So.
Yeah, she's married.
So no. This was all scripted pretend. But
hey Frank, good to see you. Thanks for joining, hon.
But it's one of those ways in which you would take evidence that the prosecution is trying to use to get your defendant found guilty.
Right.
And you poke holes at that evidence. So,
but with the defense and the way our justice system is
doing, instead of writing Frank motions.
Well, and the way our justice system is set up, the defense can say and do anything they want. They don't have to prove any of it.
You know, and that's the funny thing is, so
they can do whatever.
People don't seem to understand this. So the prosecution always presents their case first for a reason, because the burden of proof lies, with the prosecution.
Right.
So the prosecution can present their entire case and then rest, and the defense can say, we have nothing. Because they don't have to prove anything.
She sure does. Absolutely. She learned from the best.
No. See, I do not play devil's advocate. I just argue from a side of facts, which, you know, people don't.
I think he's picking on you.
Oh, he is. He told me that my engagement ring, can it catch the light? He wanted me to take it off because apparently it's blinding him. He's being a stinker.
Did you see what he said? He said he plays deviled eggs.
Apparently I make the best deviled eggs, depending on who you
do make
ask.
The best deviled eggs. You know, Lynn, I hope and pray you're right. To me and my opinion, I feel that they don't have a good defense. And so that's why they're behaving in the manner in which they are.
What's going to be interesting to me is if the defense puts him on the stand.
Oh, I think that's going to be. I don't see that happening. Oh. I don't.
But it's not up to them. It's up to him.
But sadly, in this, I don't think that he's always been abreast of what they're doing. So you know what I mean? I think they could coerce him and say, look, we can't put you on the stand. because I think he would be taken apart.
Oh, I absolutely agree, but it just depends on how.
Frank's like, not gonna happen.
It just depends on how cocky he is as well. I mean,
did you see what Lisa said? Oh, you guys, I'm telling you.
So, wait, and are they saying I'm pro-defense? I'm not pro-defense.
He's probably talking. I don't know who he's talking about.
I know. I don't know. Or is he talking about that other
Frank,
YouTuber?
You're not talking about Shelby being pro-defense, are you? Or are you talking about me?
And I just want to clear, like, I'm not pro-defense. I'm just pro remembering that it's the burden doesn't lie on the defense. That's what because I feel like as a society we've forgotten that.
Right. And Squeaky Wheel says lawyers like Baldwin and Rosie are the reason the public despises defense attorneys in general. Anybody that claims these guys don't just blatantly lie in court and to the public aren't too bright. I consider, and I hate to say this,
he said I should be a defense attorney.
There's a place for defense attorneys, and there's a few out there that I highly respect. I mean, I really do. They are really good defense attorneys. I think ethically they try to stay within the boundaries of ethics and do the best they can for their clients. There's some that don't care, and they'll just go on and do, whatever.
So with that being said, could you imagine, I don't know if anybody has seen any of the viral videos that have gone around of the woman who is on trial for leaving her 10-month-old for a week?
Oh God, yes. And your oldest son and I discussed this. It was
Oh, I can imagine what he had to say.
Oh, we couldn't, either one of us. We were
so I can't imagine it. But if you go back and you watch some of her defense attorney's facial expressions, because he's sitting there having to defend this woman who has admitted to what she did, but she's still entitled to a defense.
Exactly.
And you're hearing the horrific things that this poor baby went through. And there were a couple times it looked like he was going to vomit. So, there are good defense attorneys out there. But unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, in our judicial system, everybody's entitled to their defense. So,
and they're making a lot of money. I mean, they're making $20,000 a month, and to me, that's a lot of money.
Who's paying that?
The state of Indiana, the county. It's charged to Carroll County, and the state have to pay for the court-appointed attorneys. And again, he should be entitled to getting that. I mean, I'm not against what they're making. It's not really that bothers me. But what bothers me is that people don't think they're getting enough, or feel that he's being slighted in some fashion because he can't afford $1 million attorneys or whatever. And
here, pull up Squeaky Wheel's comment. So,
oh God, the Chad Dormer case.
And I'm not even.
Oh my God,
I can't comment on his confession. I've not seen it. I don't know anything, but I will say this. I know people seem to think that false confessions are like, you can't logically grasp why anybody would do that, right? Like, why would you sit and say that you did something that you didn't do? And in this case, there's witnesses and, whatever.
In this particular case, the police officers walked up to him sitting on his stoop in front of his house with the rifle next to him,
right?
And his dead son's laying in the yard.
Okay,
he shot them.
Again, I'm not
really
saying
didn't need a confession,
but again, you have to look at that confession.
Yeah.
And were his rights violated?
No, I get it.
And was he read his Miranda rights?
I think that police
people forget that just because the confession is thrown out doesn't mean that it was a coerced confession. There could be lots of reasons.
Well, what happened was he started confessing to them right away before they had a chance to Mirandarize him. And they were trying to get him under control because the gun was still right next to him. There was so much going on.
Right.
And then they had these 3 little boys under the age of 6 laying dead in their you know,
I get
it was a scene
horrific.
so horrific.
And I mean, and so that's probably why his confession was thrown out, because he had not been read his Miranda rights yet, is my guess. So all that means is they can't use that in trial, but I'm guessing they have a ton more evidence that they can use, that they wouldn't need the confession.
I don't think that they have good defense evidence in this case. I don't think the defense has a leg to stand on. That's just me. They're going to have to really come up with it in a quick hurry for me to see it. You know, I just don't find it. I think that's why they're with the Odinism and all the other crazy things that they've been doing. But you know, this is a good example. Ann Taylor, who's Brian Kohberger's defense attorney, seems to be doing a good job of defending him without making the trial into a farce with the social media bullshit and all. She thinks that he thinks that Brian Kohberger is guilty, but respect what she's doing. I do as well. Again, this man is being charged with his life. He is facing the death penalty in the court of law for the killing of these 4 people. Whenever you have, to me, that's the highest that a burden of proof should be.
Yes.
You have to prove it without any doubt. And I wouldn't want to sit on a jury that has to find someone guilty of that.
So let's use, because this will really make everyone happy. Scott Peterson as an example. Okay. Yes. So he had his trial and he was sentenced to death. Like he was sentenced to the death penalty, but with what actual evidence? Beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion,
no,
it wasn't enough.
No,
the timelines didn't add up. There wasn't enough DNA evidence to sentence him to death.
Now we find out that there's a burned out van with a bloody.
There's all this evidence and stuff that wasn't allowed
from where she lived, and we're wondering what's that all about.
Right.
So that will be interesting to find out. But
it will. So you have to look at things like that, where again, that's another case where emotions run very high. No, Frank Meister, he's not, but he was sentenced to it.
Yeah, Ruckus, I agree with you that the defense in this Delphi case, they're getting yeasted up by YouTube nitwits. And they asked for it. If you remember, Baldwin stood on the steps inside the courthouse after that very first hearing and said, anybody that's out there on social media that has information that can help our client, contact us. That opened the floodgates for every
and that to me seems desperate, because how do you use any of that?
Exactly. What could a YouTuber or a social media person possibly know that doesn't even live in the state? And some of these people have been called as witnesses by the defense already in court proceedings, which is absolutely crazy. And like I told you a week or so ago at the last hearing, we had 2 YouTubers come to almost fisticuffs outside the courthouse. They've been banned. They cannot come back to the trial. And it's crazy, when you see all of this. And that's what I said. What's the psychology behind this that causes people to go off the deep end in a case like this and get themselves so immersed into it that it comes to that? It becomes all about them and not about what we have said all along. that it should be about.
Right.
These two beautiful girls.
Because people, we're self involved, and people have a hard time looking past themselves. And something like this happens and they want to insert themselves for the notoriety. They see the Backyard podcast and how it completely helped that entire case. And they want to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, that was, I don't want to say it was pure luck, but he did that with integrity.
You're welcome, this account. I know that you guys don't get those all the time, so that's why I wanted to read that to you.
And anytime you have a podcaster or a YouTuber that gets information.
Good night, Ruckus. Thank you for hanging out with us. Get some sleep. If you get any kind of information, you should be passing it on to law enforcement. Hands down, first thing. And it's so right. And I do apologize because I didn't mention Carrie tonight. And Carrie Timmons, for everyone who doesn't know, is Libby's mother. She is her mother. And no matter what law enforcement, Tobe Lesenby lost all of my respect when he did the interview with Hannah Shakespeare and said, but do you know her background? Her background has nothing to do with this. She is her mother. They had a conversation on social media together that morning before her daughter was unlived, and she loved her, and they had a relationship. Even though she didn't live with her, they had a relationship born out of love. And Carrie is as much a part of this as anyone, and she deserves just as much respect and understanding for what's happening as anyone. And my heart breaks for her as well as all the rest of the family.
Well, the dad too, because aren't they vilifying him because of his past with drugs and stuff?
Yes, same thing.
I mean, that's just
because somebody has addictions. Carrie has spoken openly about hers.
Mm-hmm.
Why she chose to let Becky and Mike take the girls. I commend her.
That's love. That is putting your kids before yourself.
Exactly.
That's what that's called. People want to say, when you give your kids up for adoption, or, you place them with family members because you are unable to take care of them. That's love.
Yes.
That is, because if it was selfishness, you'd keep them. Oh, I'm their mom, I'm going to keep them. But you're able to recognize that you're in a place where you're unable to take care of them at that point in time. And so you give them to somebody who can safely take care of them and keep them safe.
Yep. And
that
so
is love,
I commend her
and
for that.
Is, and to sit there and condemn somebody who has substance abuse, which is, by the way, a disease.
Yep.
For acting in the best interest of their children. Come on.
Yeah.
Get over yourself.
Exactly. But they all get thrown under the bus. Derek has been vilified for 7 years because he's never spoken out publicly about what happened to his daughter.
He doesn't have to.
He doesn't owe us anything.
He owes no one anything.
Agreed.
Just because he's not out there, screaming from the rooftops about his daughter's death doesn't mean that he's not grieving.
Exactly.
And it goes back to the whole thing of dad. He would grieve privately. I mean,
everybody grieves differently.
They do.
And you can't, when you lose a child, it's so overwhelming in the very beginning in any way, and you don't know how to react or how to respond. And then when something is so public as this is, and all the eyes are on you, it's, I don't know. I just
I feel like there's this stigma on when parents lose children that you are never, ever supposed to be happy again.
Yeah.
That you
And,
should
you
never
know,
smile, that you should never have fun, that you should never,
and I felt
live
that way.
your life.
I
And I
felt that
feel,
way.
I know you did. You
I
still
felt
do.
that way after Adam passed away.
But
You know, I did. But
even in our happiest moments, there's still that cloud.
they'll never.
There's still that cloud. You know, we had an amazing, wonderful thing happen last Sunday in our family. And there's still that hurt that
Right.
somebody's missing.
And we don't know the ins and outs of the family dynamic
Nope.
between all of these people. And we don't need
It's
to know.
none of our business.
It's none of our business. I'm not getting in the middle of their family issues or what that is. I don't want to be there. I want to support all of them. I want to support each and every one of them, because for me, that's what it's about. And being a mother who buried a child,
Why
I
would
know that pain, and I don't want to inflict any more onto them.
what right does Becky have to tell Carrie to be quiet?
I mean,
That's what God is always with you today's comment is. That she has no right to do that.
yeah.
None.
I mean, it's just, it's just.
You don't get to dictate how a parent behaves
Or grieves.
when their child has, and I know the way that you lose your child affects the way that you grieve. You know, we knew that my brother was going to die. We got closure. We got to have his final moments with him. We were with him. These parents did not have that.
No.
And unless you've lived through that, you don't get, and even if you've lived through that, you don't get to decide how somebody else grieves.
No.
And
And
as
people
far
can
as I'm
say what they
concerned, the
want,
parents,
but like I've said before, Becky is a strong lady. She has been through hell and back, losing Libby, fighting cancer herself, through it all. That in itself, no one should have to walk in those shoes that
No.
you're trying to. I mean, that's just a lot
it
that
is a
you're
lot.
trying to put through, and then have to go through this and this whole nightmare of a trial and social media being crazy and stuff. I just, like I said, I don't need to know all of the skeletons that are in families' closets when I cover true crime. I don't. It's not part of it. It's not where we should be. It should be about the facts of the case. It should be about telling the victims' stories, and especially when you're talking about children like Abby and Libby, talking about who they were, their dreams. I don't want to just remember them as the girls that were unlived on a bridge in Indiana.
That shouldn't define the way that they ended. Do you know what I mean? Like, their memory lives on. We got to see the memorial park that is amazing.
Isn't that fantastic?
So you have this baseball field diamond where kids will forever live on playing this game that they love, that these girls love to play.
Yes, exactly. It's like, that's the other thing. The Rockaways is in here and they're talking about donating to Richard Allen's Defense Expert Fund, because there is one and it's up to $25,000. And that's all fine and good. I get it that the state has not offered them or given them the amount of money they want for experts. Maybe the experts that they thought they could get didn't want to say what they wanted them to say, and they're out trying to buy experts that will say what they want them to say. I don't know, which is fine and good. People want to give that money. That's more power to them. I'm not going to say one way or another. I know that I did research the company, because GoFundMe won't do this, but I did research the company that does this. Absolutely, Richard Allen will not get this money, and either will his attorneys. It absolutely has to go to pay for experts. So if they don't get the experts, then it will be refunded to everyone who donated. So it's
Well,
just sitting there. And so I think that part's good. But crowd.
and again it goes back to the fact of, even if you want to, donate to his defense, you want him to have a good defense.
Exactly.
Again, because you don't want it to come back and bite you on appeal. That he,
this case is
that
going to be
find
appealed,
his,
sure.
and I think that's where the judge has tried to protect the case when she, chastises the attorneys for their behavior.
Yep.
And I don't think that she's looking at, and rightfully so, because if he is found guilty, it's considered a death penalty case and he gets so many appeals. So you want to make sure that whatever they're going to try to appeal on holds up on appeal.
Yeah, exactly. And, we don't know yet if it's going to be death penalty, because Nick has the ability to call up the death penalty anytime before now and the day of trial.
So squeaky wheel, if he's afraid to die, taking the death penalty off of the table and giving him life in prison without the possibility of parole is a huge incentive for him. A huge incentive.
Yep.
Because he'll still be able to have a life.
And again, I think
it's not a great life.
Something that the prosecution works with the families.
Exactly.
Most families will be talking to them. The prosecution, Nick will be talking to the families and saying, "What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you guys want to see as punishment for this?"
Because if a plea deal would save them trauma of evidence that they don't want to see or hear or whatever come out, then a plea deal is, going to be on the table. But most prosecutors will not take a plea deal like that unless the family signs off on it.
Wants it. And what I think is, in my opinion of this, is it should be between them and not us. And as far as that goes, they'll decide what happened, and we'll see where it goes, or what happens. But I think,
sorry.
I think that we will have to wait and see on that, because the death penalty hasn't been put on the table yet. As far as plea deals, obviously there are tons of plea deals done every day, because if we didn't, the jails couldn't handle everybody.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why they do it. And also the court system. If we didn't do plea deals, we would never get our cases through the court, because there would be so many cases that would have to be tried. And that's another reason. And yes, is it sad that money comes to play? But money does come to play.
Do you guys want to meet the fiance?
Oh, sure.
Come in. Come here. You're fine. This is Aaliyah.
Hey, Aaliyah. Hi, sweetheart. How are you?
Home from work.
But this is
Cover this up. Oh, you want to show them your ring? Careful, it might blind them.
This is my new granddaughter, you guys. She's my grandson's fiance. So there you go. You got to meet her.
Yep.
But anyway, with it being said, we've been on here for a couple hours, and it's
Did you bring me a soda?
It was a great live. I'm so glad we did this. I hope everybody that watched tonight was able to get something out of it. We could talk for hours about the sociology behind this and why people are so consumed by this case, and why it's gone to the crazy, how crazy it is, and we may end up talking about it again, but I really commend everyone who tries to stay out of the drama and keep it about Abby and Libby. And you guys, if you don't do anything else this week, please try to bring the hashtag of justice for Libby back to Abby and Libby. Let's not just talk about Richard Allen. Let's not just talk about the crazy crap happening in the Delphi streets on YouTube, because at the end of the day, it's really hard to constantly be talking about that for the families. We need to always think about their emotions, and they're here. They're watching us tonight. They're watching us tomorrow. There's some of us that they do watch, and we want to just keep it good for them. We don't want them to think that we're disrespecting them, their family, or their loved ones. And Shelby, I love having you. You need to come back. We need to talk about Scott Peterson, and we need to talk about Israel Keys, and we need to talk about some of these.
Oh, Israel Keys. I just learned. I'd never even heard about him. And I was like, what in the world?
I did a whole thing on him 2 years ago. He's something else. Something else. But I appreciate everyone that was here tonight. Anyone who donated to the live stream tonight, thank you so much. And you guys are great. I love my doors. I love the people who come here week after week to support me. I look forward to seeing any and all of you that appear in Delphi on Saturday. I will be there for the walk, the memorial walk for Abby and Libby at the trail. So
when is it?
It's this Saturday. You coming with me?
Oh, it's Saturday.
Yeah. Yep.
I go back to work on Monday.
I know, but that gives you Sunday to recover.
What time are you leaving?
I'm going to probably try to leave early because it's 2.5, 3 hours. So, by the time we get there, I'm thinking like around 8.
You got to remember the time change. Don't forget the time change.
Oh, good Lord. Maybe we'll have to leave at 7. Yeah, because I will. We'll leave at 7. As long as we make a plan that we don't end up with hog nuts, I'm going to be happy. No hog nuts this trip.
We can't do that without Britt, and she can't come. She's got basketball. So
I know she can't. And I'm just like, because I asked her and I was like, you want to come with? I can't. I'm like, So I really hope you come. It'll be fun. I don't want to have to go by myself. But if you can't, I get it. And but yeah, I will be there this week. Did she just say hog nuts? I sure did.
So we should tell that story before we sign off.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna let you say it because I think I'll just laugh and it'll be crazy.
I don't even know.
Farmer, you need to listen to this.
Did Brittany go to bed, or is she still in here?
Brittany, are you still out there, my dear? Are you diamond painting, or did you go to bed?
So we went for the memorial walk back in September, right? October. Sorry, October. And Brittany and I went with Mom because she didn't want to go by herself. So we made it a whole trip and stayed the night and all that jazz. So we get into Delphi and it's like 11:30 and we're hungry. And we go to this bar, the Office or something. Yep, I can't remember what it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And and I don't know if everybody knows anyway, Brittany's biracial. So she waited outside because she was taking a phone call, and Mom and I went inside and we walk in and this bar is packed. They're packed.
No place to sit.
No place to sit. And these people start waving at us, and I'm looking at Mom and she's looking at me. I'm like, why are they waving at us? We don't know anybody here. And so they're like, there's a table over here. Come over here and sit. There's a table. So we go sit down. So pretty soon I get a phone call and it's Brittany, and she's panicking because it's all white people in the bar. And she's like, where are you? So I have to go up and get her, bring her to the table. And the waitress comes up and she's like, "What can I get
Well,
you?
wait,
The kitchen's
wait.
closed."
Nicole, Shelby, and Brittany went to the bathroom. They left.
No, this was after. That was after the hog night.
Okay.
We haven't gotten to that part yet.
Mitzi remembers the story.
So, she comes up and she says, "The kitchen's closed. All we're serving is hog nuts and fish." And we were like, what are hog nuts? And she's like, "Oh, they're like these little tenderloin things. They're the best part of the pig.
They're the tenderest part of the pig. You love them. You like tenderloins?
And we're
really good."
And we're like, "Okay, well, we'll get a basket." So we got a basket of hog nuts and a basket of the fish. And I think I got water, Mom got water, and Brittany got a soda or something. And so there's this table of these guys behind us, and everybody in there at this point is kind of drunk, I think. And they're like, "You're gonna love them," and da, da, da. So they bring us the basket of food, and we start eating them, and I'm like, "They're not bad." And I'm a little hesitant because they're all breaded, and I have a severe milk allergy, so I'm only eating a little bit.
I just had my surgery, so I couldn't eat much at all.
No, so
I was taking little tiny bites.
So we're eating this, and either Mom or Brittany says, "Nicole, Google what these are." So I Googled
and there's a bunch of young guys sitting at the table behind us giggling.
Yes.
Just giggling and laughing at us.
So they are exactly what you think they are. They are not tenderloins.
They're hog
Although
nuts.
they're round and circled, they bash them flat.
They are hog pig nuts.
Yes.
They're not Rocky Mountain oysters.
Nope. They are from a hog.
Pig testicles.
They are not, yes. And
breaded and fried.
And so we eat these. So we finish whatever, and Mom's paying, and Brittany's got to go to the potty. So we get up and we go find the ladies' room, which is labeled the heifers, and the men is the bulls. And she goes, "I'm not going in there by myself." So we go into the bathroom together, and I said, "We are in the middle of like Republican like country." I said, "Something's gonna happen because you're biracial, and now we're both in the bathroom together, and we like girls." I don't know. It was just a funny thing, and it was a story to remember. I'm sure Abby and Libby were laughing their butts off watching all of this from upstairs. But
I mean, it was like if you could have pulled. Because I'm a Midwest farm girl. I mean, but, I'd never heard them called that.
I'd never heard of hog nuts.
And I didn't know people ate them, for one thing.
No. I've heard of Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yes. I heard of those when we lived in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I was like, but this I didn't. And it was funny because she looked at me and she's like, "Well, they're just what they sound like." And I'm like, okay. I didn't know what they sounded like. And I'm thinking about the Abby and Libby walk and meeting and Frank Meister.
And we just were hungry.
All the people and I was hungry. I hadn't had anything to eat yet today. And I was like, I wasn't thinking about hog nuts really. Mm-hmm. And, I drove 3 hours to get these.
It was funny.
It was funny. But we won't be doing that on Saturday.
No, we won't be doing that on Saturday. We can go back to that restaurant, though, that we went to with
the one in Lafayette.
Yeah,
that was fun. With Randy and them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah. It was like, oh, yuck. But anyway, it was great, you guys. I'm so glad that we could be here. And we'll have to do it again really soon. I always love having you on. So.
I will try to make... Yeah. I'll try to make more time. I'm sorry.
I just know you're busy, and stuff. But yeah, we really need to talk because I did talk to him. We're going to start talking about some other cases.
We are. And I really want to start. I want to do one with Britt where we can talk about, the racial divide between these kinds of cases.
I think that would be
Alexis Scott and all that stuff, and get her take on it because she represents that demographic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
great. It always is good to end on a laugh.
It is good. And like I said, I am sure that Abby and Libby got a huge laugh at our expense that
Oh,
day.
I'm sure they did too. I'm sure they're looking
No.
down on us every day thinking, what the heck?
These
But anyway,
crazy
guys,
ladies.
thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I
It's
love
always
you,
fun.
and I will talk to you
Love
soon.
you too. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, she's a trip, my daughter, but I love her, and I'm glad that she spent the evening with us. You guys have a great weekend. Make sure you pay it forward. Be kind. It doesn't take anything to be kind, you guys. It's the most important thing out there. And I hope you guys had fun tonight. Thank you so much. Have a good evening, and I will see you all later. Thank you for being a part of Behind the Crime Door.